Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we are live on Friday, July 10th. What a month! Coming off a great holiday of July 4th. And halfway through the month almost already. Time flies, and what flies even faster? The progress of the crypto space. Progress of the financial system, for that matter. Absolutely incredible things going on. Nope, I totally put that in wrong. 1 second. Really? Okay. That's why. Okay, I was pulling up a website real quick. Let's take a look at the news for the fun of it. This is a Q&A session where we talk all things that are on people's minds. It's always a pleasure to have questions, answer questions, and not just think about the things that are on my mind, but to understand what's on other people's minds, because that's how I get a better sense of what's going on in the world. So we opened the day at minus 100 and something points, and this thing has shot up to plus 230. There's no rationality whatsoever in the market at all. It's all false hopes and just irrational uh, irrational momentum built on basically nothing. It's absolutely incredible. Let's take a look real quick over here. I mean, this was the big dip. Oh, this is on the 15 minute. Let's take a look at the daily real quick. So this is the big dip from the correction in March, and we don't have a higher high. And this basically looks so fragile. Um, a bull market, and this can't be a bull market. A bull market is higher highs and higher lows, and we haven't made a higher high. So this is a lower high, and on the macro side, if we print a lower low, that's just going to be scary. That's just a massive dump. But if you look at the more micro time frame, we even have a lower high on the micro time frame. Obviously, we see where my mouse cursor is. We could zoom in a little bit. Boop, boop. So there's a lower high on the down. No, there is a double bottom over here, but I think that's too small of a time frame to consider. Um, just looks so fragile to me. This is reason why I don't touch equities. I don't trust it one bit. It's scary. I trust the crypto space much more. The fundamental analysis has proven to be functional, to say the least. Um, with what played out the other day, was it yesterday, with KNC? Here, take a peek at the chart. KNC. No, that's KNC dollar. KNC BTC. Beep, beep, beep. What are we on the daily time frame? Let's drop it to 30. I mean, look at this beauty that played out. That is a falling wedge. Falling wedges are break direction agnostic, but with coming off this massive bullish momentum, I mean, here's another leg. Look at this. Look at that bullish momentum. So the falling wedge like this is going to break to the upside unless there's substantial resistance or something, systemically going on with the market. And look at that break to the upside. That's a nice little break. And it's just horizontal. This is consolidation. And the odds are this will be a full-on continuation. And right now, I've exited my trading position for Kyber. I have my staking position, but now my eyes are on Bancor. This beauty. No, this is the BNT dollar. Let's look at BNT, BTC. Yes. I mean, because look, we are in a falling wedge, just like we were in with Kyber for the last couple of days. So on the 30 minute, we're at resistance, and the RSI looks like it's going to hold, and we're not going to punch through it right about now, but it's possible. But we're getting pinched. If you look at the 15 minute, we're bouncing off resistance, and we don't have a substantial lower low in the RSI, so it looks like it's building momentum. There's other indicators and oscillators that you can look at to get a sense of what's going on. But what's interesting here is we're right on resistance here, and on the 30 minute, right on support there and right on resistance here. So it's pinched, and the confluence going on with all these indicators and parameters and data points that, including the large scale macro momentum, is a bullish break at some point. The question really is when. Stick with the comments real quick. Did you bite or just nibbles in the house? Yes. David New in the house. James Miller in the house. Always a pleasure. Frank DGB, what's up? Frank said, got myself some more BNT, Ren, and a smaller bag with KNC, which I won't touch. I mean, here, take a look. Look at this beauty. What is this? A 7+% supply disruption for KNC, coming off the charts that we just looked at. I mean, we're trading in a consolidation. It's accumulation phase. We're trading completely horizontal after a bullish break from a descending wedge, um, with this supply disruption. This thing's going to break upward. And to top it all off, the voting rewards, 85.22 ETH plus $1,400, get burned in 3 days and 15 minutes. That's a 15 chip worth of Kyber. That is absolutely cool. This is a deflationary asset. Things are getting burned. The burn is always constant, but the first epoch is going to burn the voting reward. And we're also deflationary because we're taking supply off the active trading market. Too cool. One of my favorites, but I pulled back on my position. I finally been able to accumulate enough gains from Hmm. What positions? Predominantly synthetics and Kyber. I pulled gains from to establish a position that I felt comfortable with, sizing wise, in Bancor. And this chart definitely supports my decision to trim those positions to establish a healthy position in Bancor. This thing just smells of continuation all over it. Felipe says, how do you suggest me buy the coins you are looking at? 1inch.exchange, that's the only place to go. 1inch.exchange. This is where you get anything and everything that is remotely decent or really important to acquire nowadays, or of interest to be acquired. This is it. This is an aggregate. You can go to Maka if you want. That's the new 0x. But you want an aggregator of liquidity pools. Was it matcha.xyz? Maka or 1inch, number one, INCH dot exchange. This is it. For Ethereum, ERC20 tokens, you don't go to centralized exchanges. There's absolutely no need. And we're on the verge, obviously, on this being applicable to the UTXO space with the BlockNet Lite multi-wallet, the StakeNet Lite multi-wallet. No doubt, Komodo's not too far behind. And as I've said, JellySwap has that great DApp style interface facilitating browser-based atomic swappage, so to speak. Yeah, DeFi is going to land in UTXO, the UTXO space, and you know, if the fire in DeFi being applied to UTXO land with 170 plus billion in equity availability is going to be absolutely fascinating. These so what's very interesting is deflationary assets. Uh, this happens in equities, obviously, with splits and reverse splits, but this is not an inflationary asset. An equity can go up or down, so there's no real like assured sentiment going forward. There's an assured sentiment with Bitcoin that it's a decaying inflationary asset. The inflation rate will decrease in 4 years. This asset will deflate next week, and then the week after, and then the week after. And frankly, it's continuously deflating. And that's something why Maker's an interesting asset, albeit when there's extreme stress in the market, just like there was in March. They had an inflationary event where they had to mint in order to stabilize the DAI peg. But under normal circumstances, Maker is quite a deflationary asset, and it's also extremely low in supply. Was it less than a million makers are out there, which is absolutely fascinating. Let's take a look real quick at Ren. These dark node beauties. Oh, I got 12 bucks pending on one, 21 bucks pending that I could actually withdraw. There's no reason to withdraw it at all. You just let this ride. It's only a couple bucks in Bitcoin, but the whole point is, as I've said, accumulate. You want to accumulate assets. You want to accumulate particularly the two most important assets on the planet in the crypto space is Bitcoin and Ethereum. The more you have, the better. But you're gonna get velocity with Bitcoin and Ethereum. These things are gonna go like rocket ships eventually in the next 1, 2, 3 years, and hopefully sooner rather than later. But you're getting serious price action going on with Kyber Network, Bancor, and just countless other assets. Synthetics has been on fire. These things are up hundreds and hundreds of percent over the last couple months. So, as they used to say back in 2016, 2017, that was before that, it was the real old school owners, but it was more prevalent in social media in 16 and 17. It was stack sats. But nowadays, it's also stack ether. Stack your ETH and just accumulate. That's the reserve. Those are the reserve currencies in many regards for the crypto space. Now, yeah, it could be argued that obviously Bitcoin is inferior at the protocol technological level, and so is Ethereum compared to the likes of Polkadot with governance built in, smart contracts out of the gate. Um, but as I like to say, there's a reason Bitcoin is not going to be disrupted. It's the first out of the gate disruptor, and it's near impossible to disrupt an ongoing disruption. And that's the same thing with Ethereum. Even though the protocol is not the best it can be, one, it's functional. Two, compared to legacy financial systems, it makes the legacy system look pathetic. And three, how likely is it to disrupt the legacy system? It's going to disrupt the legacy system. So it's an ongoing disruption. Nothing's going to disrupt Ethereum. And that is the more likely of the outcomes. Cosmos is hot. Cosmos is being picked up by China. But then again, China's also rolling out link nodes across the country. So they got some serious blockchain tech going on in China between Cosmos and link nodes, and they're really going to come out strong with digital financials. And frankly, as I spoke about, I believe the other day, at least on Twitter, Brian Brooks is coming out swinging at the USOCC, uh, pushing for national fintech licenses, which allows the likes of Coinbase and Gemini to get a banking charter, which basically means they could provide banking services, deposit accounts. They'll get credit cards in 5 seconds flat, and just all the stuff that's typically provided by the banking system. And now there'll be digital fintech companies that can provide at a national regulated and licensed level these types of services because obviously New York has been very difficult with regard to these types of licenses or permission to do business. But once this becomes a national type of policy, it overrides anything that is discretionary by the states. Felipe says, well, let's not skip Frank. I really like what Ren is doing because I'm all into UTXOs. Yeah, so Digibyte's awesome. There's a lot of equity in Digibyte. There's a huge amount of equity in Litecoin and obviously Bitcoin, 170 plus billion. So what's fascinating about Ren and WBTC is they take trading supply off the market. It locks it up. These are WBTC is a centralized custodian of Bitcoin, and RenBTC is a decentralized custodian of Bitcoin private keys. So the Bitcoin itself is not trading. It's not tradable as WBTC and RenBTC, but it's effectively causing a supply disruption for the Bitcoin trading market. Um, Combined with, when you look at that, look at the volume. Look at the order book real quick over here. This thing might break up real quick. Ooh, that'd be nice. It's gonna break resistance. What are we on the third? Oh, we're on the 30. Let's take a look at the 15. So we're above support on the 15, and with that order book the way it looks, it could be in the process of punching through this resistance on the 30. When in doubt, about longer term time frames, pull out the 4 hour. I mean, we're sitting on resistance. Sitting on support, and support is above the trend line. So this thing is going to break up. It's almost assured. We're way above support on the longer term time frames. So that's how you look at these types of charts from a technical perspective. Uh, so when this thing breaks up, it breaks up in a fashion like this. Let me look at KNC BTC. Bit of a digression, but this is an interesting topic. Um, So look at this break up. When it breaks up from a descending wedge, it's not a trivial break. Ooh, that's a nice little break right there. That's pretty much about to go on with Bancor. I mean, look at that. This, but look at all the touches. There's three touches on the trend line at the top, one, two, three touches on the trend line on the bottom. So, a good entry point for these types of patterns when you see them is like a third touch, a second touch, and you don't necessarily know what's going to play out with the chart. But the second you have a third touch and you start to see it break north, that is a nice confirmation of a descending wedge pattern. And that means, like down here, you see it start to break north. This is where start to see it hold support. This is a really good entry point. Albeit, take a peek. Look what happens. So even though it broke north here, it touched again. So there was a fourth touch. And then it hit the top, and this is going to go up right here. And that's the way these patterns work. And bear in mind, these patterns don't just work because they're lines on the chart. These are psychological because everyone else is also looking at the charts. And these are averages and trends. And these play into individual personal psychology. And that's the way this whole technical analysis thing works. It's not just lines and smoke and mirrors. There's a it's a relationship to the way individuals think and react and respond to publicly available, accessible information. Felipe says, thanks. No, would you put any money on that pair, SUSD, SDFi? No, no, no. I don't. SUSD, SD. No, I'm not an ETF guy. So SDFi is an ETF. Probably has Chainlink in it and all the other good stuff. So no, I'm tempted to play some of the options on synthetics. Um, we're nowhere near the necessity to play the inverse synthetic assets. But I guarantee you, in 4 years' time, when the market starts to turn south, those inverse assets are going to become quite the nice available position to have. This didn't exist back in 2018 when the market started turning south. Um, yeah, inverse synthetic ERC20 assets. Absolutely incredible what's going to play out over the next couple of years. We got a robust financial market with derivatives, options, lending, borrowing, deposits. It's a banking system as well as a trading market in all regards. In 4 years' time, it's going to be substantially more developed. Um, Ren is still cooking, guys. I mean, look at this, 37 million. That's a huge amount of volume for barely not 2 months out of the gate. A month and a month and 13 days. Incredible. So I've seen a couple of testing integrations pop up and disappear over the last couple of weeks. This is going to get filled with all the partners, the launch partners, the alliance, the Ren alliance. It's just a matter of time, and I like to think in terms of inevitabilities, as everyone knows. It is an inevitability. Why? Because to those projects, Ren is extremely powerful technology. You have to remember that it's a technological implementation, software, so it's very sophisticated and complicated. And it needs to be done right. Because when it's not done right, well, trust is lost in the system. So cross those T's, dot those I's. When these projects take their time and do it right, do their due diligence, that's how you have a successful project. Look at Ren. Look at what Ren's done for the last month and a half after going through ChaosNet and a couple of pre-release networks, and now they have their subnet 0, which is what we're in right now, which has processed their subnet, not even release 1, their main release has has 14 million dollars worth of Bitcoin under management and has encouraged 16.17 million dollars worth of rent to be bonded to the network. And this is all trust. And as this trust is proven, people are going to throw a huge amount of volume through this network because they want their Bitcoin to have access to the DeFi liquidity space and yield-bearing instruments. If you can do it and there's proven trust in the system, it's going to be done. Why? Because there's money to be made and the technology works. And this is how you identify disruptions. Ren might be the largest disruption I see in the space since Chainlink. This is a first out of the gate systemic disruptor. take time for some traction, just as it did with Chainlink. Believe me, Chainlink was less than $1 at one point. So Chainlink was less than $1 billion market cap at one point. And if we take a look here, Chainlink is running at $6, $2.2 billion. Hey, let's take a look at the history of Chainlink for 1 second. Binance. Uh, let's go even further. Let's look at the weekly. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, look down here. Ooh, can you imagine getting a link for 50 cents? Let's see if we get it on the US dollar chart to give uh, calculated. Nice. I mean, look, could you imagine getting link for 35 cents? 28 cents? So this is where we are with Ren. This is a type of disruption that's ongoing, but it takes time, which means you have to have strong hands. And frankly, a dark node is a great way to have a strong hand because you're not going to necessarily, you can't pull your value out very quickly. It takes months, and you might as well just leave it in and forget about it. Yes. Let's take a look at the comments. Frank says, sadly, I don't have enough budget to get myself a full dark node, but stacking Ren will do, I suppose. Yes, Ren has, look at this. Look at this appreciation. Chainlink is up 2,000%. Absolutely incredible. 20x compared to 50 cents. Well, 10x compared to 50 cents. So, yes. And then you could also hone your skills as a trader using technical analysis that I've hinted at some of how that works. BTC. You hone your skills and you're able to stack sats and stack Ethereum. And Ren is going to substantially appreciate over time. This is my new hot one. Look at this. This thing's about to pop. It's almost above resistance. Take a look at the order book on the right. And let's look at the 15. I mean, look at the support. It might bounce. And guess what? If it bounces down, it goes down, it goes down, it hits the bottom trend line, it comes up, and it goes right through. Pretty cool. James says, familiar with BAM protocol? Yeah, you asked me about that on Twitter. I got a couple of slides up for that. Yeah, so what does carve out space mean? And that's what I like to talk about. Folks that talk about price and whatnot, I like to not even talk about technology. We know I think about the highest level perspective. Teller and BAM protocol are oracles. And frankly, that's what the BlockNet X Cloud is. It's an oracle. So there's basically three, at least three. There's probably other projects that are trying to get into the space. But right now, there are three Oracle projects that are available other than Chainlink. BlockNet xCloud, Teller, and BAM Protocol. So what have I said with regard to momentum? Bitcoin is not going to be disrupted. Ethereum is not going to be disrupted. Cosmos and Polkadot have traction, and they're powerful. They're going to carve out some space much more than the Ethereum killers of 2017 ever promised to do. I don't think they're going to carve much space, but these newer ones are have a lot of traction and frankly very large market caps, much larger than any of the ETH killers of 2017 ever hoped to achieve. So these boys are likely to carve out some market space against Chainlink. But the thing is, they're not going to disrupt Chainlink. They will not surpass it. Um, it's about momentum. And Chainlink is a first out of the gate disruptor, as I say, have said many times, and will keep on saying. Um, Tell her they folks. These boys got some nice investors, and there's no cap, there's no supply cap. It's an inflationary asset, so I don't know. I like to fall back on fundamentals. So for me, I wouldn't I wouldn't have a position in Teller because it's an inflationary asset. I mean, there's no decaying inflationary. It's just straight up, it's mining with no limit. So you have to have a very large, was it 15,000? I don't know. I'd have to look at the white paper. But yeah, you have to have a large collateral, a large bond, and then you have to mine for Teller. So you need GPU hardware. So that would be my interest from a recurring revenue stream perspective to have a node. Band, I don't know the protocol off the top of my head, but from the highest level perspective, which is what I always like to talk about, nice picks, likely going to carve out some space, not going to disrupt Chainlink. Chainlink is too damn entrenched. Crypto Hopper, you're welcome. My pleasure. Juliang says, hey Noah, any idea what the current KNC stake yield is? Yeah, look at this bad boy. It's probably about 8, 10%, give or take. Give or take. It could be more. You know, you really have to wait for an entire epoch and get a sense of the total stake, and you can do a quick calculation and your portion of the total stake, and then you multiply and you can calculate what the yield was for that epoch. Um, James says band has a staking component. So there you go. So that is nice. Teller, you require GPU hardware and a very large bond, and band has a staking component. Don't forget to look at the fundamentals to really get a sense of what's potential. What the potential is an inflationary, deflationary, stuff of that nature. What is, excuse me, the market cap, the max supply, so on and so forth. Um, and that'll give you a sense because Bancor has a fixed supply. Um, there is encouragement to lock it up in such things like liquidity pools. So but not a staking component. That's why KNC is just so incredible because so much supply is getting removed from the market. Where's my where's my charts? Oh, there we go. No, where's my lines? There we go. Yeah, the deflationary pressures on KNC are just very powerful. Between the burn and the staking component, there's a big supply disruption going on. That's very meaningful from an investment perspective. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about today? Careful with the markets. This is all smoke and mirrors. I don't trust it. I have equities plays, and it's pretty much all like gold miners, gold silvers, and streamers. Um, Barrick, Barrick Mining, Newmont, wheat and precious metals. That's about it. I have a diversified set of battery metals plays, but it's a very small position. And that I won't do not touch Nasdaq, Microsoft, Tesla's not Nasdaq, but do not touch Apple. Don't that thing's gonna implode. It's just a matter of time. It's fragile, as Raoul Pal says. Keep an eye on the bond market and the treasuries market. Watch those bonds and treasuries. Watch the yield dip to zero and go negative, and that means money's pouring in because they don't trust this Ponzi. That's all it is. All right. Friday, everyone. Always a pleasure. I've taken up 30 minutes of your day. Hope it's always enjoyable. I love to hear questions and answer questions. Any last minute questions? I'll stay on for another minute. 1 inch. Ooh. Pathfinder. Don't forget your chi tokens. Keep an eye on Kyber and Bancor over the next couple of days, both coming off fat descending wedges. I think that's quite meaningful. Anything else in the Twitter commentary that's interesting? Keep an eye on Blocknet and StakeNet. You know, the Blocknet obviously has a very small market cap. StakeNet has been pumping over the last couple of weeks. Komodo, don't discount it. And Lucian says, brings up the cred. I'll have to look into it more, how it fits into the big picture from a DEX perspective as compared to StakeNet and I mean, just the user interface that they're building on StakeNet. I saw it the other day. It's beautiful, and it runs on Lightning Network and Raiden, so it's going to be fast. And Blocknet is atomic swap heaven in their light multi-wallet. So um, you I don't see the need for an out-of-the-gate disruptor in the DEX space. That's a market that's well suited for multiple players. And that's pretty much it. There's about 4 players, and I'll see if I could logically see a fifth with the cred, but it's definitely Blocknet, StakeNet, Komodo, and JellySwap. Those are serious players in the DEX space. Um, yeah, did you buy it? Just Nibble? My pleasure. See Link's new integration. Link is getting rolled out in China, bro. I haven't seen the integration you're speaking of, but suffice it to say they're getting rolled out in China from a national perspective. That's crazy. XSN and Block looks awesome. Got myself some as well. My man Frank, Love those two. I've had them for years. Been running a blocknet service node for years and a StakeNet master node for years. Definitely beautiful. Okay, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Smack those likes, subscribe, and hit me with questions on Twitter. I'm going to throw up a poll over the weekend. Everyone, enjoy your time off, and I'll be back at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. And we're going to keep this party going and keep everyone as prepared as possible to make the best decisions possible because this market is going to get hot. You have a good weekend. Peace.